This is a Bammsters podcast, rated R, and we would like to apologize in advance. We're sorry.
Almost as big as you, Cole.
Yeah, almost.
Yes, guys, welcome back. Welcome back to the Bammsters show. Yes, your one-stop shop for everything bacon. Yes, guys, we are the only team of podcasters that I'm aware of that fight the good fight of bacon and condemn the evilness of vegetarians and vegans. Yes, yes. Apart from Grit, he's okay. He's okay. Tonight, guys, joining me is 𝒂𝒓𝒂𝒒𝒄, as always, my wingman, my PRC, my daddy to my sugar. Drac, say hi.
I guess that means you got the money.
Oh, yeah, baby. I got the money. Right, Drac.
And at the beginning there, you got to hear Bamm do his impression of Adam Sandler as Dracula. Blah, 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 blah.
That was that Transylvania film, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Blah, 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 blah. Oh, good.
I don't talk like that.
I don't talk like that. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, anyway, right. Enough about movies, right, Drac? As always, the first part of our podcast, type news station, whatever have you, is news. Drac, what have you got for the table today?
Well, believe it or not, I was going to try and take it easy on you, because I know you guys brought me in on this because you wanted me to talk about PC things, and I keep bringing up the Switch, but Nintendo did it again. I can't not bring this up. It seems like a really big deal. They're bringing Mario Kart to mobile devices, phones and whatnot.
Hang on. So you're telling me that they are bringing Mario Kart to the Switch, which happens to be a tablet, in a tablet market, so it's easy to switch it across to a mobile phone because the mobile phone nowadays is just a mini tablet that can happen to make phone calls. Yeah,
I guess they're going to go the route of Mario Run, which was hugely successful, and so they're going to port that in some way. I haven't seen a whole lot of details as to exactly how, though I expect it'll probably use the like the gyroscope in the phone so that you can just kind of tilt the phone to steer. But yeah, I'm looking at it, expecting to be out on Apple device, and I'm hoping on Android as well. I don't know for sure though.
Drac, you did strike a very good point earlier on. You know, you're the only PC gamer we have. The rest of us are console peasants. Yeah, I'm soon to be a console master, beta, racer, whatever have you. Right, soon to be, and I don't like that stigma. So why do you keep bringing up consoles, Drac, since you're the PC gamer among us? You're the master racer. And why is it always Nintendo, for God's sakes?
Well, I'd say it's probably always Nintendo because I'm probably the only one in the group with a Nintendo. And it's Switch specifically usually because it's just fun to bust your balls.
Fair enough, fair enough. I don't mind that at all. Just remember something. Nintendo sells nostalgia. So N stands for nostalgia, right? Yeah? Do you understand where I'm coming from? I even went so far as to buy a goofy, geeky theme tune jingle that kind of sounded very, American baseball parky / folksy. It's so bad it's brilliant.
Yeah, that one's all on you.
Oh, I know, that one's all on me. But don't worry. I've got a great intro for the guys coming up very, very soon. I've managed to get someone else that's actually the proper one that I'm spending on. I couldn't resist when I saw what this guy had done. Thank you very much for the father guy that did this. It was brilliant. It was so good. It was so bad. It's good. It's like, I want to say it's like Starship Troopers. You can see it's a terrible film, but my God, it's a brilliant film.
I don't know if I would agree that it was a terrible film.
No, you see, you're blinded by the badness that it's absolutely brilliant. You see?
That makes sense, I guess, in a weird, twisted, warped kind of way.
Dude, if China has their way, mate, that's how we're all going to be in the next couple of years. If China carries on gamifying their political freaking sphere. Anyway, enough about that stuff, right? So Nintendo is bringing their games to a mobile device. Funny old thing, their game's already on a mobile device. A tablet, mate. That's what the Nintendo Switch is. It's a tablet. They're not competing with the console market, they're competing with the tablet market. And I'm sorry to say this, Drac, I've said it a million times, but there's no way in hell Nintendo outsold iPhone and Samsung. Shit, I bet you the Amazon Kindle outsold Nintendo.
Give it time.
Time is irrelevant in these sorts of worlds because next year it'll be another tablet, just slightly bigger and slightly more square with a bezeled edge.
I don't know. They've got that what is it, Lado, I forget what they called it, but where you buy like cardboard pieces and you put them together and connect that to the Switch, and you can walk around like a robot, or you can set it up like a motorcycle and drive with it. That looks like so much fun. I think that'll be a fun project with the little one. But I think it's kind of hilarious that you're buying pieces of cardboard and then hooking it all up.
So why don't you just go and, I don't know, buy some cardboard and then do it yourself?
Oh, I expect there are going to be like patterns and stuff that show up online, but I think in order to make use of it, you're probably going to have to buy specific games.
Oh, right. So the cardboard's sold with the game, or at least the design is sold with the game. So you go with that game, and then it actually has. Okay, I'm with you. Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, the videos I've seen, the only I think it's the only game I saw on there that didn't look like it was an exclusive cardboard type game was Mario Kart that they were racing with. But the other ones, it looked like they were games that were specifically designed to work with that type of, build it yourself cardboard interface.
Ah, fair enough. I've just learned something. Nintendo are going full bananas, full retard. Fair enough. Drac, what is the other topic you brought to the table today before we move on to my topic, the doom and gloom topic?
It was something I just saw today. This is a game that I have not pre-ordered yet, but I will be pre-ordering or picking up within the next month or two. And damn it, they got me again. I keep telling myself I'm not going to buy season passes with these games, but they've done something interesting with this one that makes me think I'm going to want to play the season pass content. So Far Cry 5 has released details on the DLCs that will be coming with the season pass. And, one of them is called Dead Living Zombies, which, I know there's a ton of zombie shooting games out there, but they're still fun and I still enjoy them. Another part of that is called Hours of Darkness, where you go to Vietnam. And then the last one is Lost on Mars, where it sounds like you're running around Mars and potentially taking on some kind of aliens or something. So I keep trying not to pick up these season passes, but they keep getting me anyway.
Right, I've got a question for yourself, Jack. Right, you're buying some really good games, right? Some really, really good games. And Far Cry is, I wouldn't say really good, but it's good enough to warrant spending money on it, right? The question I have for yourself, my good sir, is how many games have you played in 2017, including 2018, what little there is of it, and played to completion? How many games is that in total?
Let's see. I started Destiny 2 last year, and would have finished it last year. Ghost Recon Wildlands, played through the whole thing of that. Played through all of what was the other Clancy game? The Division. Played through all of that. Although I didn't play all of the season pass content for those two games, which is why I was thinking I was going to stop buying season pass content. I'm like the wrong person to ask these things because my memory. I've always grown up people telling me I have the attention span of a gnat and the memory to go with it. And if I sleep once or twice, my mind is like RAM. You just rebooted and cleared the RAM.
Okay, so what you're telling me is the only memorable games you can remember from last year, 2017, only one of which you've played. So Destiny, The Division, and Wildlands. Okay, so you only played through Wildlands completed, yeah? And the other two you haven't really completed through or played any of the DLC content. So does that justify you spending money on this DLC? Not that I'm being your wife or anything and nitpicking every decision you make, but out of all the games you played, only 3 come to mind, which are AAA games. But you haven't really played through all of them. So what's going to make you play Far Cry 5 and complete it with all these DLC content?
Well, 2 things, and this is something that I'm really glad they're doing with this one, because I think they really screwed the pooch on Far Cry 4. They released co-op with Far Cry 4, and we got kind of excited, the group that I play with, we got kind of excited, we all picked it up. Then we find out you can't play the story campaign. You can only do, like, assaults on different fortresses, which is really lame. However, Far Cry 5 is supposed to include co-op through the story as well, so playing through the story, that's not going to be a problem because at our LAN sessions, I'm going to play through that. So for the season pass content, which would be the other part of that, they've actually done something which I think is a little interesting. They're giving you not just maybe additional quests or tasks to complete in the game as is, but it sounds like they're, I don't know if I want to say reskinning some things, because that's, I'm sure, probably what it's going to end up being, but they're giving you different environments to go through and different things to see and experience, rather than, you know, just constantly going in and doing an assault on a fortress that you've already assaulted a dozen times.
Sounds like The Division, sounds like Destiny, sounds like Wildlands.
Redoing the same stuff? Yes.
Correct, yes.
But that's any MMO has that end game grind, and I knew that even before I was getting into Destiny 2. And it's actually taken me till I don't know, probably around this week now. So we're in the first week of February here, and it released in, what was it, October? And it's taken me to this point to where I'm finally starting to get a little bit tired of the grind in Destiny, and mostly that's because of how their light levels work, and, you know, upgrading your equipment and stuff, and the frustrations with that. But beyond that, it's still a fun game to play.
I'm not denying that it's fun. I had a whole lot of fun playing Destiny 1. I had a lot of fun doing all the raids. My favorite raid to date is still the Vault of Glass. Love that raid. There's still so much intrigue and mystery behind it. Shit, I did a small 7-minute video about it a few years back, and a lot of people enjoyed it. You know, a couple of thousand views. It was alright. People enjoyed it. Anyway, I just wanted to know what would make you play this Far Cry game. This particular Far Cry game. And you just told me. So happy days. Now we're all in a good mood. Let me put you in a bad mood. Drac, my good sir. I take it you've heard about this EA company. Yeah, this small little company called EA that owns half the freaking games out there, right? And the loot box controversy that they managed to start.
Yeah. There's so much controversy, it's even got the attention of politicians and lawmakers.
Aye, very true, very true. People in various states, countries, all across the world have now said that loot boxing is gambling. And there is a story out there that little Timmy, I don't know if this is true or not, but there's a story of little Timmy selling his other games just to go get in-game credit from the store to then go and spend on loot boxes because of his need for upgrades and grenade this and that there, whatever have you. So that essentially is gambling to me, in my eyes. I don't disagree with the lawmakers here on this point. And EA has quite literally screwed the pooch. It has recently come to my attention, 4 or 5 days ago, that, okay, there's two parts to the story, right? So it was reported through the Wall Street Journal that EA only sold 9 million copies of Star Wars Battlefront 2. This is not including all the in-game money they made previous to them halting in-game transactions, right? So they only sold 9 million copies. They were slated to make 10 million. Oh, boo fucking who. They missed by 1 million. And I'm pretty sure they would have caught that 1 million, you know, as you say, Drac, give it time. They'll make their extra million in the next quarter, whatever have you. So... Clearly, to me, it says, right, they're just out for the money, they only sold 9, they wanted to sell 10, the franchise is doomed, burn it to the ground, EA has just gone ahead and killed Visceral, all that bits and pieces. Turns out, a few days ago, 2-3 days ago, it was misreported from 9, it's now suddenly 7 million copies. So, Battlefront's gone from 7 million copies, they've missed it by 3 million copies, and it's like, hang on, it's not like they put 50 million into a game. Okay, it might be 50 million, but they put 50 million into a game, 25 million on marketing, 25 million actually making the game, and then when they sell 7 million copies, it's a huge disaster. You know, I don't get the numbers. I don't understand the numbers between, shit, if I went and made a game and I sold 1 million copies, I'd be bloody happy. But I know when it comes to big studios, they've got to advertise so much in the sphere of other games that are coming out that if they don't get enough, you know, I want to say face time with customers, they're not going to make the sale. I understand that, which is why the marketing budget is so big. But when you blatantly flaunt gambling in front of kids and young adults and people who can't distinguish between spend on the loot box, don't worry, it's a good thing, and then not having to pay the bills at the end of the month, you know, it's like, hang on, something's wrong here. You've tilted the game more towards spend on the loot box to get an upgrade to make yourself better in the game, and you have to needlessly grind for something like 4,000 hours just to get the same upgrade, rather than spending $20 in game. And you know, it's oh, it's only 3 million freaking copies. Holy shit, they'll make it back in the next quarter. Why do they have to make it all in one quarter? Why can't they spread it out? I mean, no word of a lie, mate. They'll make the 12 million copies in the first half of the year. I'm failing to see the problem here. EA have made, okay, I wouldn't say EA, but they've made a good game, right? It looks great. I haven't played it myself, but the people that play it have said it's a great game, it's awesome, it's great. The upgrades that you get aren't necessarily game winning, they aren't necessarily match winning, but it's frustrating when you constantly get killed by these people with these upgrades and all these bits and pieces, and it makes you want to put the game down and switch it off. You know, it seems that they're more interested in the initial sell and then the loot box, rather than the continued support of the loyal fan base. If you foster a good fan base, they will constantly buy the product. So they've not only just screwed the fan base, they've screwed the product, because the fans might necessarily not buy the product anymore. That's how I see it. You know.
Well, that may be where some of the confusion or controversy has come from sales, because there was, from what I was reading online, there was a flurry of chargebacks and pre-order cancellations. But I mean, my question is, I know you threw out 50 million, and I'm assuming that that's just a random number, unless you know for sure.
Random number. It could be 10. It could be fucking 20. It was a random number. I just halved it. 25 million on advertising, 25 million for the game development, paying for the bits and pieces and whatever. That's just a random number I threw out there. It might not have been shit. It could have been 100 million. You know.
Well, and that's one of the things that's been most curious to me about this whole thing is they talk about it being this big failure, and I get it. In business, you set a goal line somewhere, and if you don't meet that goal line, then it's considered, you know, a failure. But my question has always been with this, that they wanted to sell 10 million copies. Well, I've seen people talk about spending anywhere from $60 to $80 and more on this game. Well, even just at $60, that's a ton of money if you sell 10 million copies, even if you sell 5 million copies. So what did they spend on actually making the game, and how much profit have they generated? And when I say how much did they spend, I'm including everything, the licensing cost for licensing Star Wars, being able to sell that product, the advertising, the marketing, and you know, all the way down to paying the developers, because I'm willing to bet they probably still raked in a ton of money beyond whatever their costs were. And for that to be considered a failure, man, that just that seems insane to me.
I agree. 7 million copies. It's literally just thinking, 7 million people have bought this game. It's just the copy of the game, which is $60. In the UK, £60. Not to mention when you buy the season pass. Do season passes? No, they probably don't anymore. I think they stopped doing season. But you know, they sell like the limited edition, the gold edition, the silver edition. Those add up. There's a £120 version, a £90 version, a £60 version. You know, and if you're just talking average numbers here, and you just want to cut through the bullshit and say $60 per game or £60 per game, not including the guys that bought the game for 90 or 120. You know, you've got a shit ton of money, bro.
Yeah, I mean, even if it cost them $100 million to make it, it's $60 a copy. That's still $420 million. So if it cost you $120 million, you've made back more than 3 times what you spent.
This is the bit that confuses me the most. I mean, okay, look, right. To be brutally fair, I've been on the YouTubes. I've been in a bit of researching. I've watched extra credits, right, and their explanation of bits and pieces, which is probably where I got the name, the number 50 million from, because I think they used that total. And I've watched the far end of it. Guy called Jim Sterling. Thank God for Jim Sterling. All that loveliness, right? And they both have very good arguments. Games, AAA games, right, cost a lot to make. They really do. I'm not denying that. But when you factor in the raw numbers, like you said, that's a shit ton of money. And that's where Jim comes in. That's where I understand Jim's argument from. What did they spend the money on? If they're struggling to sell, okay, struggling to sell, so that's not really a right word, but they're thinking about the franchise is in jeopardy after they sell 7 million copies. Not to mention, people are still buying that game today. People that couldn't buy it on launch because they didn't have money at the time, or they're away, or they're on holiday, come back, they're still buying that game today at $60 a full price. So next month they might hit the 10 million mark. You know, still within the first quarter of this year. You know, I can't. I just don't understand what's going on here, and I don't really want to make an assumption of, you know, God damn it, EA, you've wrecked another game. No, I don't think that's happened. I think it's been mismanaged to the point where I want to say egos were inflated. Yeah, we can have the fan base. Yeah, we can pull one over. What we can do is not only will sell the game for $60, $90, $120, not only that, we will then shove loot boxes in there. Believe it or not, EA has been doing this loot box shenanigans for a lot longer than what the first-person shooter genre been doing for. Look at FIFA. Holy shit, dude. FIFA's been dealing with this nonsense for a hell of a long time. You know, so I think EA tried to pull a fast one because they knew the fan base was incredibly loyal to the franchise. And they'll only stop when Disney pulls the license. By then it's too late. We don't get a first-person shooter from Battlefront that runs as good as it does. Because believe it or not, Battlefront 2 is essentially Battlefield 2142. That's how I see it. That is Battlefield 2142. It's DICE, bro. DICE, I think, are one of the best first-person shooter developers out there. And I'm a big fan of DICE. But it's the mismanagement, it's the I want to say peacocking of it all. Yeah, look at me. Yeah. And then, you know, pulling a snide one. And again, like going back to extra credits and Jim Sterling, I understand both sides of the argument, but when you look at the raw numbers, it's like, hang on. You know, I understand a game makes this much, it costs this much to make. I understand that the marketing budget is sometimes half to almost a third to sometimes 3/4 of all that jazz. I get that. I understand that. You know, you've got to be seen in the space. But then I understand Jim Sterling's arguments as well of like, what are you doing to not make a profit after selling 7 million copies at $60 a pop? Holy shit, something's wrong there.
Well, it's greed. At least in part. But let's not fool ourselves either. I mean, EA is a company, and just like any other company out there, their job is to turn a profit. It's just that I think that maybe similarly with Hollywood companies that, you know, you see they make hundreds of millions of dollars and they still call it a failure. Maybe these companies are just so used to making this obnoxious and obscene amount of money that unless they top what they did last time, they see it as a failure. And to me, I just think that kind of logic just doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't hold with me. When you make that kind of profit, when you make so much more, so many times more what it cost you to make something, you've paid for a couple of future developments to keep your employees employed. So I don't know. But I don't work with those numbers, so maybe that's why I have a hard time with that perspective.
No, I think I'm just gonna leave it there. I'm not. I understand, again, like I said before, I've said like 3 times already, I understand both sides of the argument, but what I don't understand is why this is such a clusterfuck. Or flustercluck, rather. I really don't get that. I don't understand why there was they aimed for 10 million. I don't understand that. I understand what you're trying to say. You know, it could be like Hollywood. You spend 10 million on a film, you only make 6 million back. Yes, you're going to have some really pissed investors because there's 4 million shy. You know, they're not going to get their money back. And yes, if you spend 5 million on a movie, right, and you make 20 back, you're going to have some very happy investors, you know, make loads of money. I get that. But surely they made a profit on this. Surely. Or didn't they make as much of a profit on it? And this is why they're bringing back the loot boxes. You know how I said before, they put a stop to the loot boxes and the online transactions. They're bringing it back because apparently they haven't made enough money.
I don't think that they ever put a stop to them. Even in their initial statement, they said they were going to take another look at it. And it wasn't so much that they were going to take them out of the game. It was just that they were going to try and rework how these things worked.
Okay, fair enough. But they're still bringing them back. They're still bringing the loot boxes back. And I don't know what shenanigans is behind the scenes. I really don't. So, yeah, I'm stuck here. I really am stuck here. I really am. The extra credit guys did a very good job of explaining in layman's terms, because let's face it, I'm a bacon eater. I need layman's terms, right? in explaining the basics of it all. Developers, rental, all the bits and pieces, right? Third-party tools and all that business. I get that. And Jim Sterling, thank God for Jim Sterling, also put down a very eloquent argument of saying these guys are treating you like idiots. This is what they're doing. I'm stuck. I want to side with either side, but I'm in the middle, unfortunately. I'm in the middle. I don't know enough to fully grasp what's going on here. All I know is that after all the shitstorm about it, selling 7 million copies isn't enough, so therefore they're bringing back transactions, in-game transactions, so they're making more money off your wallet, more pocket pinching, more wallet thievery.
Well, I think we probably better wrap this part up here now so we don't keep going for the rest of the day bitching about EA.
Yeah, we better stop. I think we've hammered that poor game to death, really, and I don't really want to upset you guys, because in the next segment, ladies and gentlemen, is the Paragon Pitfall. Yes, I renamed that one, Drac. The Paragon Pitfall. Yes, you guys might have heard Paragon is dying, and for the next part of this, I shall be discussing what, where, and how. The post-mortem of Paragon. Thank you guys. See you in the next part of the interview. Chat. Show. See you in the next part of the show. That will be better.
Yeah, stick around after the break. This episode of the Bammsters Show is brought to you in part by beer! Beer, 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 tiddly beer, beer, beer. Man, if you are not drinking a beer right now, well then you should be. That's right. You work hard and you deserve a break. So pop the top off your favorite beverage, kick up your feet, and enjoy this episode.
Hello guys, and welcome back to the second part of this podcast, the Bammsters Show. Yes guys, my name is 𝑵𝒆𝒏𝒄𝒆𝒍𝒍𝒆𝒅, and today I'm going to talk to you about Paragon. Yes, as you guys are probably aware, over the past few weeks, Paragon has, been drawn and quartered, quite literally, hung, drawn and quartered. Yeah, can anyone really be surprised why? Ever since Fortnite, I'm pretty sure you guys have noticed the decline in, quality content from the game itself. And let's just make it totally clear. I'm on the side of, when it comes to Epic Games, I'm on the side of there's two games out there, Paragon and Fortnite, and Fortnite's making a whole lot more money, requires a whole lot more development, and therefore it is siphoning developers and developing resources and bits and pieces and whatever have you off other games such as Paragon, and then funneling that into Fortnite so that they have more support for the game as well. And, companies have got to watch their bottom line, and Fortnite is currently making money thanks to the Battle Royale series. The last man standing wins. As I'm sure you guys know, it's a very good cartoony rip-off of PUBG, as PUBG would like to make you believe. So yeah, they just siphon the resources off into what's currently making money, and Battle Royale's making money, and that's what they're doing. It's free-to-play Battle Royale, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Battle Royale's a lot of fun. I played one game exactly, and I lasted a grand total of 5 minutes because I'm useless at the game. Absolutely useless. Anyway, back to this topic at hand. Paragon falling over. Fortnite having a hell of a lot more developers and resources being thrown at it, including player base, which I'm sure is massive compared to Paragon. Now, Paragon, I want to say, had a very good player base, had a very strong player base. And the reason why I say strong and a very good player base is because of the bitterness, the saltiness, the toxicity of it all. When you logged onto the Paragon forums and associated sites, you could just see the even in-game chat, to be honest, and they try to curtail that somewhat. The toxicity of it all. People are coming from Dota, and those forums we all know are the second most toxic site on the planet. It goes with Dust514 forums, Dota, Reddit, Poll, all that sort of stuff. 4chan as well. Got to throw 4chan in there. We all know that's sort of the level. Dust514 forums, you could openly berate someone using all language under the sun, no holds barred, and, that was Dust forums. Anyway, that's my take on it. Anyway, I'm keep getting sidetracked because there's so many facets of Paragon quite literally falling apart. I believe it was an alpha tonight, and my dog is snoring. Right, he's obviously fallen asleep because this topic is so boring as well. Yeah, there was meant to be people joining me, but they quite literally said, Paragon, fuck that game. I am not talking about the game. That's their attitude towards it. With Paragon, you either loved it or hated it. There was no middle ground. The middle ground, effectively, if you think about it, was when you were just starting the game. You weren't too sure whether you liked it or disliked it. Again, distraction. Apologies. When I first started playing Paragon, I got given a key from a guy called Smurf. Big Papa Smurf. Good friend of mine. Great guy. He said, Bam, you got to play this game. And I played it, and it was my first encounter playing a MOBA. And I loved it. I played it way back when it was an alpha. And it was a good game then. In the beta, it was a good game. And where it kind of faltered for me was when they went to Monolith. I believe the map didn't suit the characters, because the characters were sort of long range and the map was sort of close range, so no matter what you did, you're always within striking distance of somebody. And the AI was just horrible, and the layout was different until they tweaked it. On the second update, God knows what the second update was called, bread in mouth or foot in mouth update, you want to call it, and it got a lot better. The game got better. The way they designed the second update was third update anyway. It was a lot better. The jungle was more thought out. The rivers were clearly defined. You knew the timers. You knew bits and pieces, and it was more. It was I want to say a better game than the betas and the alphas, because the map suited the character base. Granted, there were quite a few characters that were still demonstrably overpowered, but you could effectively work around them. When someone came to gank you through the river, being a middle to support the off lane or the right lane, so there's 3 men on that lane and 2 men. Anyway, it would, yeah, you could then sort of like help out and, you know, support your team. That was great. But then they dropped this new update with a new map, and it just fell apart. I honestly think it just fell apart. It was like insta-popping. There was no timers as such on when you could drop various things. It was just like all abilities drop and go, and that would kill you. And it was a bit frustrating sometimes, because sometimes you would get locked down pretty bad. Now, I love playing Grux. Grux is my boy. Grux is my character. I love the whole sort of, you know, I would say rhino look of him. It was a great character. And then because Grux sort of worked against oh god. See, I haven't played Paragon in so long because it kind of killed me off. The high noon guy. Anyway, you could quite literally melt him thanks to Grux, and he at the time was a pretty badass character. You know, if you ganked him just right, you could smack him, R1 him, smack him again. He'd then shit himself, right? You then pull him into you because he started running away. Smack him again with R1. At that time, he's got 2 hits on him, ticking, bleeding, lovely. But then he still run away. Drop your ability, your ultimate. By that time, your smash grab, whatever the thing that pulled you in, had recounted, and he'd be frozen. And by the time you R1'd him again and clapped him around the head a couple of times with your big old clubs, he was toast. And then if anyone else decided to come and support, you know, you just dropped your R1 and raced on out of there. That's the part of Grux I liked. If you went to Chimera, yes, I liked my junglers. I loved my Chimera. I loved my Grux. I had to move over to Chimera. I don't know, they changed Grux somewhat, and then he became less effective and more useless, to be honest. He wasn't good at carrying armor. He wasn't good at speed necessarily, unless it was attack speed. He wasn't particularly good at dealing damage unless you built him for damage specific, but then you had to put the attack speed onto it to make it effective and give him crit. Damage crit, as I remember correctly. It's been a while since I played Paragon, I won't lie. Right? Now, Chimera was a badass. You could launch a character. And the best part about it was if you'd locked on just at the right time, and that chick that pulled people out, if you'd locked on your character at just the right time and she launched the character out in front of her, you could quite literally jump from one end of the map to the other and still kill it. Bang! But then she'd blind you and you'd be, you know, dead as well. But anyway, long story shorter, the pitfalls of Paragon. Too much fettling on what was already a good game. I thoroughly enjoyed Paragon in the alphas and betas. When the turn to Monolith came around, they kind of broke the game a touch. They essentially changed the map but not the characters and the character layout enough, I think, And then when they gone ahead and changed over to the card system, it didn't suit the characters or the map. If that makes sense. The cards were something completely different. I think they were trying to contest with Warframe, because Warframe, the card system that reminded me of Warframe. You apply certain cards to your characters and, you know, your character becomes powerful. And I think that's what they tried to do. They tried to borrow elements of Warframe. And don't get me wrong, MOBAs borrow from each other all the time. Feng Miao, right? My boy, Feng Miao, the man Miao. Level 10, loved him as well. Again, used him primarily as a jungler. I didn't go off lane with him because I wasn't a particularly good laner. I couldn't aim, so my Murdoch's still like level 9. I've played him since alpha. I cannot shoot in that game. But anyway, jungling, easy mode, happy days. You know, Feng Miao looks like that one in... oh god, Feng Miao looks like that one in LOL, thank you. You know, and that's what it reminds me of. And Narbash looks like the guy from the one with all the healers and gods of the past. Like, anyway, that game. I never played it. Apparently you can play it on PlayStation, but I never played it. So they borrowed elements and characters and bits and pieces from all over the MOBA place, and that, I think, breeds brilliant variety. They have their own ideas, their own imagination, but then it kind of went stagnant and stale. So the characters were very stale, I thought, when it came towards when I stopped playing. It was, you just see the same stuff over and over and over again. The characters were either crit based, damage based, or heavy tank. That was it. You built your character towards a specific card set, and that card set would work on everything. So if you built your character primarily with attack speed, crit, and a damage, you could apply that to everybody. And to me, that does not breed individuality with regards to your characters. You can't really necessarily tweak a character a specific way to suit its attributes better. It's one card set, sod the character's attributes. So that then turned the game stale for me, because there was always a specific card type that you always have to take. If you're playing pub matches, and I'm not a particularly good player, I only play pub matches. Speaking about pub matches, I don't know if it was like with you guys as well, but with me, I always seem to be on the side that loses. I don't know what that was about. Yes, I'd have huge win streaks of about 4, 5, 6. That was great days, and yes, I'd lose 1 or 2 in the process, or maybe 3 or 4, but the games themselves kept me going back. No word of a lie, there was a massive lose streak for myself. I lost 24 matches in a row. 24 matches in a row. Shit, dude, seriously, I was scratching the arse end of freaking silver. I was 2 matches away from going into bronze. I was at the bottom end of silver, scratching the bottom end of that dustbin barrel, seriously, and only playing pub matches. Thankfully, when I started playing with my friends again, started winning, and I clawed my way back into gold. Yeehaw! But then they changed the card system, and I fucking plummeted back to mid-silver, and now I'm only a silver player, and I never have said I'm anything better than a silver player. But the point I'm trying to stress is staleness with the character builds, at least from my perspective. The fact that they became unimaginative with the characters. They all started looking the same as other MOBAs. So you've got 2 aspects there: staleness and unimaginativity with regards to the character designs and look. You also had poor matchmaking. Now, the poor matchmaking wasn't necessarily Epic's fault, right? I want to say a lot of the losses I suffered when it came to the 24 match last week was probably down to poor teamwork. But for once, I have loved to have been on the other team that seemed to be working together. Don't get me wrong, I tried my freaking damnedest on mid lane as Howitzer. Oh, I love my Howie. I can't aim for shit, but his ultimate is a great get the fuck out of jail free card. Oh, that's what I use his ultimate for. Drop and run. Shoot and scoot. And his R2000, bang, long distance sniper shot, just like Murdoch's. Oh, I love my Howie. Got out of there so quickly, but you didn't have to aim with Howie too much. Anyway, I would have loved to have been on the team that actually, in the pub match, I always seem to be on the losing side. And I don't know if that's like with you guys. Probably a lot of you said, oh, I won most of my pub matches. I'm XXX silver. No, XXX gold, platinum, whatever have you. There's only one guy that I know that went platinum in my group, and that guy can play, right? He can play very, very well. A lot of my teammates and my friends that played are gold. Low to mid-level gold. The one guy was platinum. When we played with him, he just threw us into all sorts of shit. Okay, this is team versus team, though. And I'll tell you what, a lot of those matches were either howling, horrible defeats that we got absolutely stomped on because we couldn't gel. If another team manages to break very early on in the game, the mid lane and the jungler, it seemed the whole game collapsed. The whole game collapsed on your side because you couldn't regain the mid lane's abilities and rank. Neither could the jungler, and you had to overdo the jungling to then compensate for the mid lane who was still trying to, beef himself up, as well as trying to freaking help gank both, the right and off lane. So if you nerf the jungler and mid lane early on, you would win the game. And if the team had come across us and done that to us, that was our crux. Team Clutch, we called ourselves. We'd only just come back towards the end. And my favorite tactic, no other lie, was dive bombing the core, lastminute.com, grabbing the red, blue, and black buff and bombing the core with my Grux, and then having a Muriel flying on me and save me from impending doom, or have that chick that heals you from a distance follow you up or whatever have you, whilst they were battering down your core. It was a really, really enjoyable game when because it was close and tense, and you could feel the tension between the teammates, and you could feel the team between the opposite team. Anyway, poor matchmaking when it came to my experiences in Paragon, because I always seemed to put on the bad teams. And the 1 or 2 victories that I had didn't taste as sweet as when I was working with my teammates. So we have unimaginative character design, staleness with regards to character and card building, at least in my experience when I used to play Paragon, and I haven't played Paragon, and I won't lie, in about 4 months. I'm going to play Paragon this weekend just to prove myself right. And if I'm wrong, holy God, I'll eat my words. Anyway, so poor character design, staleness with the card builds, and poor matchmaking. Now, I want to go into the toxicity and, as I've just briefly touched on before, and the hail of abuse that you received in chat. Now, there's a good friend of mine, G. We played a lot of online free games play, including Dust 514. But some of the abuse you would get into the chat while you're playing is report, noob, go home, delete the game, all that shit. That didn't necessarily bother me, but it fucking ground his shit. He doesn't necessarily have the motor skills, as it was, to react quickly. This is why he went to the mid lane, because you don't necessarily need a fast reaction time. Or he went right lane, so he had someone covering his back. So these comments gripped him just a touch, and he quit playing. Another friend of mine, Calico, he would get outraged by people on our team, their team, not following the set protocol and the rules set up via MOBAs, because he's so indoctrinated in LoL. Right? LoL, you stick to your lane, and that's your lane, and you only gank when you need to gank, blah, 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 blah. When it came to Paragon, which is why I liked it, you didn't necessarily have to stick to your lane. You could quite literally 5-man the middle lane and bomb their freaking middle lane early on. Or you could 3-man and hammer their mid laner after, coming from the gank from the river, up on the right-hand side, and then gank from that. If you were 𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒈𝒂, and the middle laner pushed to the river, and you pounced, and you already had your freaking 4 smashy grab, whatever have you, and there was a Howie in that lane, all Howie would have to do, no word of lie, is shoot the guy, or stun him, shoot him, R2000, and 𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒈𝒂𝒈𝒂𝒂💂 come in for the kill. Or 𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒈𝒂💂 stun from Howie, R2000, and the mid lane would die. Therefore, the mid lane has to go back, spawn in, and that gives your mid laner time to go back, throw a few cards in, whatever have you. It's just, depending on how you play the game, it depends on what happens, and I think he was a bit too rigid in his playstyle, if that's my only criticism of him. But I honestly think when it came to some toxicity, when it comes to Dota and LoL, the playstyles and the rules of the game were so locked into them that they couldn't necessarily understand that, oh, this person's a new player, oh, this is a console peasant, oh, this or that. They necessarily didn't actually understand the other side of it. Shit, I came back from Paragon after the Monolith update, after they'd repaired it somewhat. And my first game, oh my good God, I blew it. I went to what I'm comfortable with. I went to Feng Miao, because my Miao has got a build, when it came to crit damage and attack speed, could not be crushed. Unknowingly, I didn't read the updates before I went into it, and I got freaking pummeled. Absolutely pummeled, because they crushed the mid and the jungle, and we could not recover from that. Well, let's just say apparently I got reported for fucking, reported for deliberately sabotaging the game. It's like, hang on a minute, bro. Hang on. I know I'm mid-level silver, but I did not deliberately sabotage the game, bro. Fucking came back after a couple of months break from the game because I burnt out, got pissed off and frustrated. And that seems to be the case with Paragon. People have like a life cycle with the game. They join the game, they love the game, they hammer it to death, and then they fizzle out and burn out because they get pissed off and frustrated. And that's where I think a lot of the frustration and toxicity comes from, is single-mindedness locked into what you need to be doing at the specific time, because there's no fluidity and no sort of adaptability from other players. And and the rigidness of it all. It was just, yeah, it was just crazy. So again, you've got the ingrained play styles of other games forcing their way onto this game, where you need to remain fluid and adaptive. Where no, you're not going to be so much. You've got poor character design, you've got stale cards, and yeah, it just keeps on going down the rabbit hole. And you've got also, don't forget, you've also got the terrible matchmaking, at least in my experience, when you play pub matches. And if you stack up for 2, and you get a team of 3, and you guys don't quite gel, forget about it. Forget about it. Not only to mention, when you are matchmaking and you are into the match screens, if someone doesn't get the specific character you want or he wants, they just bomb out completely. Bomb down. That kills the game. And so many times we've played a game with 4 people and then found the time. It just sucked. Having said that, right, if someone has a hissy fit or a crying fit in the middle of the match because the jungler hasn't ganked, because the jungler's actually helping the mid lane, because the mid lane's getting like 4 or 5 people, but he's so freaking engulfed in his area, i.e., you know, off lane, right lane, he hasn't noticed the mid lane has died 4 fucking times, and the jungler's now there to help him. Jungler this, jungler that, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Can you see I've had this abuse before, as I'm sure all of you beautiful people have. Yeah, it's Pitfall or Paragon, Bamm opinion must maybe shut up a bit. It's crazy. The way I like to say, the way I envisage Paragon. It's not my... This also brings up another topic that I wasn't going to discuss rather, but now I'm going to. It's also the devs trying to please, I want to say, the high-end players, the high-end crybaby players, the high-end players are trying to get the game built specifically for them and not necessarily for the larger community. Now, I experienced some of this in Dust 514, where high-end players would then get an ear of the dev, and the dev would then do an update fixing something that would then make their gameplay a lot better. And once their gameplay became a lot better, they were gods among ants. They were the kid with the magnifying glass. And that isn't how you're meant to make a game. I'm sure of it. I'm not a developer. I've stated this many times. But surely when you make a game, you make for the community, not for the higher echelons. And if you're going to make a game specific for the higher echelons, surely that's a subsection of the game, where certain characters are banned, certain abilities are banned, certain things are... And you craft that for, like, the esports crowd. I'm assuming the high-end players are esports. You know, people derive ego and I'm better than you-isms from their rank level. And don't get me wrong, if I was gold, I'd look down upon you horrible silvers. But when I was silver, I'd look down upon you horrible bronze. But when I was bronze, like, oh god, I'm bronze. Yeah, that's how it works. That's the tier of looking down upon you. And so, developing a game for a small subset isn't necessarily what I'm saying happened. I'm thinking it didn't, but I can't help but see certain things happening. I know the community hammered the dude with the 2 guns. I can't remember his fucking name. Twin Blast. They hammered Twin Blast because in the early game, in the alphas and early betas, right, Twin Blast was just freaking violent. Once he started shooting you and someone had a good aim, there was no way you're getting away from him. No chuffing way. When Feng Miao, you pulse him with attack, I think it was attack, was it like 75% crit, a shit ton of attack, and then like 35 points in attack speed. I can't remember exactly, but he became a swinging blade of death. You could not stop him. There was a scene, no word of a lie, where in one match I managed to kill 5 players 3 times. You could not stop that Feng Miao. And that was playing against gold and silver. You know, mixed tier of players, which we were as well. Could not stop Feng Miao. That was with Booker as well. Booker was playing Howitzer. This was in the alpha, where you still had that high middle and the downside into the jungles, and you had to do dunk. You could not stop that Feng Miao. Feng Miao was God when it came to jungling. So yeah, as I said, I'm just picking up points that I've noticed, guys, and you probably realize I'm just rambling on here about my frustrations with the game. And I do honestly believe that Paragon would have been better than Battle Royale if it had, I want to say the developers had the right mindset. They've got the right mindset. If they just made their game, if they just stopped borrowing ideas and then overfettled it with, like, for example, the Warframe cards. What possessed you to change it to Warframe cards? Why? Because if you think about it, the Warframe cards essentially were the 10-pointer cards at the bottom of the stack. Because it made the game simpler. It made the game easier, more easy to adopt for new players. What? Why? Where's the learn? Where's the learning curve? There has to be a learning curve in the game. If there's no learning curve in the game, you don't feel like you've accomplished anything. That bugged me. It really did. But then the cards and the this and that, and you got no, sod that. They didn't apply a learning curve in the game. You didn't invest yourself in the game because it just became a pickup and quite literally throwaway game. No learning curve at all. Clickety-click on the internet which cards to use, and I swear to God, the same 2-3 cards come up almost every single time. In my experience when I played my junglers. And I can't recall the card's name because I haven't played the game in so bloody long. Because, again, I hammered the game to death, fizzled, frustrated, burnt out, as has 𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒈𝒐, as has 𝑔_talk, as has Booker, as has Smurf, as has almost everyone I played with. I think the only one that plays now is 𝒂𝒏 the medic. And even he is frustrated with the game. 𝒂𝒏, the most mellowed out guy on this planet, is frustrated with Paragon. And to hear that Paragon is shutting down when Fortnite stands and reigns supreme, I don't necessarily rate Fortnite that good of a game. I haven't necessarily played Battle Royale.
Right.
So I can't really comment on what the Battle Royale game is like. I know PUBG's a big thing right now, but probably it's a fad, like the zombie thing. Many moons ago. It's a fad.
There it is.
But then MOBA's gonna be a fad, so yeah. But yeah, again, ultimately, the end of this little chat that I'm having with you guys, this little moan whinge cess that I'm having, because there's a whinging and I am moaning, and I'm just trying to point out to you guys the bits that I thought were, at fault necessarily for driving the player base away, and therefore seeing a reduction in players, a reduction in playtime, and then because Fortnite's taken over with the Battle Royale, resources getting siphoned off Paragon to the point where Paragon no longer becomes economically viable, and forcing them into Fortnite, Battle Royale, where it is economically viable. Throw developer and resources at that. Bottom line, Epic has to watch their bottom line. I don't blame Epic for doing what they're doing. I really don't. I want Epic to carry on making more games. Epic, I think, are a good developer. They make good games. They are. They do. I like them. They're great. They're the way they do things a little bit unorthodox, yes, but I like them. They're a good bunch of people, I'm sure. They don't want to necessarily make games just to rob your wallet. They're doing the whole first-person PUBG sort of Battle Royale thing the right way. Free to play. And if you want to spend money, spend money. But it's only cosmetic. That, I think, is the right way to do it. Personally. And yeah, in the light of this whole loot box controversy I spoke about earlier, I want to say Epic can stand on their stand up proud and whatever have you. But if you think about it, Paragon had the element of gambling as well. You could work your arse off for gold keys and whatever, that could randomly drop or whatever have you, and then you basically wait for the loot box to spin around and see what you got. Or you could buy loot boxes and you wait around and see what you got. And I wouldn't say the gold keys or the plat keys or whatever were necessarily powerful, and the character skins you got sometimes wasn't necessarily a bad thing. And the cards you won sometimes, because I had all the cards, no whatever I dude, seriously, I had every single chuffing card when we went to, not Monolith, the other one, the one that I don't like with the cards. Every single card before we left the game. And all that was through drops. I didn't and have not spent a penny on Paragon. Have not. But Paragon shutting down is like Dust 5 unfortunately, I feel like I'm losing a part of me. A part of my soul is dying.
Did you say something?
It hurts. It's a weird sort of feeling to sort of explain. But God, I love that game. That game was great. I love that game. Anyway, guys, thank you for listening to me for the past half an hour-ish, talking about Paragon. And the points I've raised, if you guys have any other points you want to discuss in the comments below, please feel free. Again, the points I raised were poor character design, or boring character design, stale card making, you know, because it was all one type of card. You know, poor matchmaking on the pub sub, but I think that's sort of inherent with any sort of pub match. I think that's always going to be a problem. You know, stuff like that. You know, the fact that the toxicity and the fizzle and burnout drove customer and player base away. All those bits and pieces. Guys, please, comment below. Leave a thingy, whatever have you. Blah, 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 meow, meow. I love all your faces, guys. I am out skis. Much love, boys and girls. Cheers, bye.